I'm trying to get my camera. I might need to turn my Wi-Fi off too, because I bet it's weak. It still works. Trying to get things all set up here to go. Mandy's Candies, Ed's Place, Back Breaking, Jesse Kruckenberg, Easy Digging. Can everybody hear me okay? I've just got my phone out here in the shop, so once I get going here, I'll probably miss a lot of the questions and things. Okay, all right, we're going to fire up this thing and see if we can make a marble. Everybody's ready. We are going to start with just a little clear blank here. I'm going to go with some pink and purple and white. I'm going to try and do a zigzag or a wigwag. They call them, or a reverse. Anyway, switchback swirl something. Anyway, we're going to warm this thing up. I still don't have. Try to get this camera where you guys can see a little more of what I'm doing. A little less of me and a little more of what's going on here. So these glasses, you can see, I don't know if you can see the purple. I've got the same thing over the camera lens. If you don't have that, once the glass goes to heating up, see how yellow it gets? And you can't tell what you're doing, but if you have this didium lens on here, it takes all the soda flare out of the flame, so you can see in the flame, see what you're doing. So I've got you guys set up with that. Don't know how much you'll be able to see, but and this I will tell you is not a super fast process, so you may get bored, you may get tired. If you leave, I totally understand. If you want to come back and watch it later so you can speed it up, I understand that too. So, because like I say, this doesn't happen super fast. But I'm going to get this clear core, I'm going to get it heated up real nice. Then I'm going to start applying our color. So you guys can kind of see the glass starting to glow there. That's probably around 1200 degrees. Got to clean the end of this rod, and it's been raw cut from the factory, so I got to clean the end of that off. All right. Now we got a nice end to work with here. I'm just going to stripe this, a few stripes of each color to start off with. You'll be able to see the color when it's hot, or well, you'll be able to tell where the color is because of the way it glows whenever it's hot. So there's our first stripe on there. You can't, whenever the glass is hot, you can't tell the color of it because it's just glowing from being hot. So see dirt clod and AAP. I'm probably missing people. I apologize. Like I say, I get to looking at what I'm doing and I miss the chat. Keep digging. So if I do miss you, I severely apologize. All right, I think that's enough purple on there. So this is where we're at thus far. Just got some purple. I'm gonna go with the pink now. I've done this color combo before and it usually looks pretty good, so we're gonna hope for the best. Connie Barnes, Leanne Crawford, how y'all doing? Like I say, I know I'm missing people. The phone's so small, it's hard to catch everything. I'll throw this out there too. I am thinking maybe I can start having some live auctions on my channel of the glass things I'm making. How would everybody feel about that? AP says heck yeah. All right. Get a little bit of heat back in this thing. You've always got to keep it hot enough not to crack, because those colors will actually, as they cool at a different speed than the clear does, and it can actually stress and break the glass. So, oh, I missed something funny. Need to save up for today's membership game. Oh yeah, dispatch. I seen that. That was funny. You guys were killing it. Get a little bit of color on the end of this. This is my white that I'm going to put on there. It transition, or what am I trying to say? Contrasts real good with the pink and the white. See this white? It looks kind of clear right now, but as it melts and gets hot, it actually turns to a bright white. So anyway, I'm going to put some of that in here. And after I get this white on here, I've got to cover this entire thing with clear. I've got to cover all the colors up because they don't do, you have to get this thing like liquid hot melted. There's Mona. Uh-oh, are you lagging? Or am I lagging? I turned my Wi-Fi off because I'm so far from the house. Let me turn my Wi-Fi back on and see if it gets better or worse. Sorry. See, I'm out in the shop, so see if that helps or hurts anything. If it doesn't work, I'll have to. I don't know. I can shut it down and try to figure out how to get my Wi-Fi out here better. Okay. Well, I turned the Wi-Fi on, so we'll see what happens. You were better before I switched to Wi-Fi. Okay. All right. We'll shut it back off and try. I apologize. I kind of live out, so I'm a little far from super good Wi-Fi. Somebody says I'm coming in clear. All right, well, I'm going to let it run for a while. We'll see what happens. So if anybody hadn't heard the reason or how I got into this, I don't know. I'm not a real artsy person. I mean, I guess I was a little bit. My mom is pretty talented art wise, but all my life I've just you know just worked jobs with my hands and you know everything. But a few years ago, I got started. I got started collecting vintage marbles like the ones ones kids played with back way back, and collecting the ones that were made in the early 1900s and the German handmaids that were made, in the mid 1800s. And so I've got a collection of that stuff. And done that for several years. And then while I was at a marble show one time, I found people that had this contemporary art glass. I found out that people, done this, and I already love marbles anyway. So I inquired a little more about this and found a couple of people that were local to me, and they let me come down and use their equipment and their glass for a long time. They're like, you need to try this for a while. They said, we've seen lots of people, spend a lot of money on equipment, and you know, buy everything and get all hot and bothered about it, and then they kind of lose the desire, and then they've got all this money tied up. You know, it's just like this torch right here. This thing's $1,400, or it was 10 years ago. You know, a kiln is $1,500. You know, I mean, it just takes lots of little specialty tools and graphite molds and just all sorts of stuff. So I done that for a while with my friends, and of course I just kept getting more and more hooked on it, and finally started buying my stuff and putting my stuff together. There's what we've got. You can't tell much about it, but that's covered in pink and purple and white now, kind of bumpy and rough. I'm going to melt this whole thing. I'm going to kind of try to melt it in a little bit, get rid of some of the little high spots. But anyway, kind of in a nutshell, that's how I got into this. Started out collecting old marbles and found people that done this and hooked up with them and started melting, and had a little 2 year hiatus out of it where my dad was fighting cancer, and I was taking care of him, taking him to hospitals, 200 miles away every week or 2 weeks or whatever. So I finally kind of getting unfortunately I lost him, uh, but I'm kind of getting my head back on, and feeling like I'm wanting to do this again. So here we go. So anyway, we're getting this thing nice and hot now. When we get these colors melted in, then we're going to add the clear over the top of it. And I said at the beginning, this isn't a real super fast project or process. So if anybody gets tired and has to leave, I totally understand. I think you can come back after the live stream's over and watch it when you can speed it up, or something like that. If you need to, I totally understand that, because this doesn't happen real fast. Just about ready to start adding some clear over the top of it. I don't know if I ever finished what I was saying a while ago. The colors, they don't withstand the heat very well. Some of them are sensitive to the oxygen. This is a propane and oxygen torch, and to get a lot of heat out of it, you got to pump a lot of oxygen. So the colored glass will boil before the clear will. So I'm going to basically try to encapsulate this whole thing with clear glass to protect it while we're getting it at its hottest temperature. So I've kind of got the edges kind of smoothed down. I mean, there's still high and low spots and all that, but we're about ready to add some clear glass. So I have this, it's about 3 foot long. That's about a 4 millimeter clear glass rod. That, of course, I forgot to clean the end up on. So I've got to do that while I've got my marble in my hand, and hopefully don't drop anything. So we're going to take this little end off of here. Switch hands. I'm going to get set up here, and we're going to start putting some clear on the outside of this. Oh, rookie mistake. Just broke my glass with my ferro rod, pushing a little too hard. I'm still trying to get all my feeling back for this. There's a finesse and a way to do every bit of this, and unfortunately, while I was off, I kind of lost that feel for things. So there's no telling what kind of mistake you may end up seeing me do tonight, but I'm gonna try to hold it together here. I won't be able to cover the whole thing the first go. It may take two or three times because I don't want to put the glass too close together and trap air bubbles. I try to do, least amount of air bubbles I can, unless they're intentional. Now I do some things that are intentional or have intentional air bubbles in them, which is like the marble that I made on my other one. Yep, yep. It's going to be a bumpy ride tonight. I can tell. Everybody, bear with me. I got to stop pushing on that glass so hard. I'm about ready to try and melt this in. Mona, it's a process of learning. I mean, I've probably collectively, I started about 8, 9 years ago. I had 6 or 7 years in, before my dad got sick. Uh, so it just takes time. It helps if you can be around others to learn the techniques and just little tricks of the trade, basically. I still, and a lot of it too is just having an imagination and trying something, and sometimes you fail. I've failed lots of times. I'll show you one that I failed on the other night. Had it almost completely done. If you can see that, that was that was a little turtle pendant. Kind of see the spots on the back of his shell there, his little feet and his little tail. Well, I was down to just making the loop because it's a pendant to hang on like a necklace. And I dropped it on the bench and see the bottom of it. So it burnt into the top of my workbench here and broke the head off of it. So I had to start over. So yeah, you have failures. You learn from your mistakes big time with this. If you're working on something and worked on it for 2 hours and you let it get too cold out of the flame before you get it in the kiln, it'll crack, and at that point, it's pretty much done. So, yeah, thank you, Connie. Yeah, the little turtles are kind of cute. I'll try and make some more of them, and in the future. And like I say, if you guys like the idea of maybe some live auctions right here on this page, I'll try and get a few things made up, and I can try to make a little video of what I've got and advertise them and say when we're going to do the auction, and we'll see what we can do about getting some of this glass in you guys' hand if you'd like it. So, anybody getting bored yet watching me spin this thing? I apologize. So I've got to melt down and smooth out the edges on that clear that I just applied. And like I say, I'll be applying more clear to try and completely cover the color that we put on there. So all these tools are made of graphite. Graphite doesn't stick to melted glass, and it can withstand crazy amounts of heat. Hey, you diver. Sorry if I missed you earlier. Uh, Hard to see on the phone screen and watch what I'm doing here. Cause that's something else. This torch right here, you get your hand or a finger or something in this or too close to that flame, and it'll burn you in a millisecond. I mean, not blister. I mean, burn your skin plumb off pretty much. I've had some close calls, but I've not, you know, not hit myself too bad. So. All right, I'm going to let this cool off, and we're going to add some more clear glass to it. Still just looks like a blob, doesn't it? Just hard to see the colors. Maybe let me flip this up. Get that there. You can see a little bit of the pink and the purple and the white. Maybe. But if I don't keep this didium lens down, you guys can't see in the flame. So, all right. I may have to get another glass rod here since I broke this one off a couple of times. And there's something on the end of that I don't like. Once I get all this clear on here, we'll hook onto it, and we'll start doing our twisting to get kind of a zigzag pattern basically in these lines that I went this way with. We'll hook onto the end of it, and I'll go to twisting to create a wigwag pattern. So Oh, I see somebody saying hi to B. Higgles, so Mr. Brian, or guess you must be in the chat. Hello, sir. If you're just joining, welcome to My Insanity. Ohio River History, Mr. Shane's in here. I'm sure NorCal Digger, man. I know I'm missing people. I apologize. Of course, it's real fun to try and see where the clear is and where it's not, so it's always interesting on this part. I'll let you see again here. I'll take the lens up. So anyway, still just kind of looks like a crazy blob. All right, let's get this thing, let's melt this clear in and see where we're at. We're going to turn the big flame on and see if we can get the heat in it and get this clear melted down. This is a two-stage torch. Do most of the work. I mean, I do most of it with the first flame, but you can crank it up with this. As you can see, and it gets hot fast. Looter 8. Frank, did I say hi to you already, buddy? You've always got to keep this moving or it'll sag. Gravity, you use gravity a lot in this art, but you've got to keep stuff centered, because if it ever gets off center too bad that you can't recover it, then your points, you kind of lose your, kind of lose where you want your lines to go and things. So it's a constant, constant move. It takes, I mean, my hands, I'm not a kid anymore, so this spinning these things for hours at a time can be kind of rough. You'll see me switch sides a lot of times. Hope I'm not boring everybody to death. This isn't a high-speed thing, unfortunately. If you need to leave, I understand, and come back and watch later where you can speed the video up. I will not be mad, I promise, because sometimes I'm sitting here staring at this. I'm like, man, I wish I could hurry this up somehow, but it just doesn't happen that way. So just got to get all the little low spots filled in with clear glass now, so the color will withstand the heat better. because you have to get this thing the hottest whenever you go to round it into the actual marble. You've got to have pretty much 2/3 of this mass heated up to just a liquid state to get it into a marble. So I'll show you. I mean, this is a marble mold with different size, you know, different size holes to help, but really, if you can let gravity round it, gravity works the best. You can kind of force it a little bit round with that mold. I've got just a little bit more clear to put on here because I still see a few spots that I've missed, so. All right. This clear will also give it a little dimension of depth because that color will be under the surface whenever I twist it. So it kind of adds another dimension. And then with it being round, the marble being round, you know, the clear glass kind of magnifies the lines and the layers underneath. So I think we're getting somewhat close to being ready to do our twist. Just got to find all the little spots that I've missed with the clear. Yeah, I hope you guys are able to entertain between you. I'm sorry. I can't keep up. I can't hardly see the chat. Of course, all this clear that I'm adding it's going to add, you know, to the overall size of the glass. The clear core I started out with is 16 millimeter. So I don't know. I would guess this marble will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.25 inches. Is going to be my guess in diameter whenever the marble's complete. So I have made in the past up to a 2-inch marble. It's a lot of work. It's real tiring to hold. That glass gets heavy, you know, out on the end of this handle. So 1.25 inches, or something like that is a lot easier to maintain while you're making it and not totally wear yourself out. But once I get my feeling back for everything, I'll start pushing myself a little more again. So, all right, one more big melt here, and then we're going to try and twist this thing. Whew, that flame is hot. I may still have a couple of little teeny tiny spots that need clear, but we're getting real close. Oh, there's Lisa. Oh, while I'm letting this cool, I could maybe I can back up, see if there's anybody I missed on Anchor. Maybe I've said hi to most of yous. I hope. All right, let's get this clear on here, finish it, and let's twist this thing up. All right. We're going to say that that's good with the clear. And we're going to take this probably 5-6 millimeter rod. I want to hook right onto the end of this. That way I can control, and we're just going to heat up certain little spots at a time, and we're going to twist these colors around. So I'm going to hook that on there like that. Let it cool for a second. Kind of center it. I'll change this flame just a little bit so I can kind of control my little hot spots. We're going to WigWag this thing. William E., how are you, buddy? So I'm just heating up small areas of this, or at a time, and because I want part of it to stay cool, so it'll stay where it's at for the time being. So this is starting to twist now. Once it gets molten enough, it'll twist very, very easily. And all this time I'm kind of holding and pushing, keeping my center as close as I can, because that's what, if you can keep the poles of the marble centered, that's what makes them look nice, or that's what I like. What I like to try to do anyway. So I've got the end twisted. Now I'm going to back up from that, kind of there on that shoulder, and I'm going to heat it there, and I'm going to twist it the opposite direction. So I wish I could, I don't know, maybe if I lean this way, you guys can see a little bit. So I'm heating a little bit further back behind that. I'm just trying to heat that one area that I want to twist next. And I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I don't know, Mona, you might surprise yourself. I didn't think I could do it either. All right, so I've got a reverse twist in that. Now, opposite from the other twist. I'm going to end up, I better be careful about that. I'm going to have everything knocked off center. I need to let it cool a little more before I start leaning and showing, because until it cools and sets in place, I can lose center real easy. All right, so you really can't see that. Yeah, maybe you can. The more the heat gets out, the better the colors show. So, all right, and once again, I'm going to back up again, back behind where I was, and I'm going to heat it up and twist it back the way we did the first time. We're going to work our way all the way to the other end. Should be about one more twist probably. Actually, I may make this whole end twist, because I really need it to twist that way to finish out the marble at the end, or at least to get it off of this handle. So we're just going to do one more twist here, and then we're going to start rounding it. This thing's going to start looking more like a marble here in a few minutes, instead of like a cone. I don't know if you guys can see that from there or not. All right. So I'm going to let this cool a little bit. And I'm going to take our little punny rod, this end, I'm going to take it off and clean up this front end, and then we're going to start rounding this thing and making a marble out of it. So I've got to let this cool off though, so it'll hold itself. Doesn't look much like a marble right now, does it? Lisa, it is yes, it is propane and oxygen. Uh, That is exactly right. All right, so we're going to get this off of here. I'm going to calm this flame down a little bit. And I'll take a second and show you guys what we got here with the. So there's what all the straight lines look like now. They are no longer straight. So we're twisted from one end to the other. So I am going to clean this end up. I'm going to terminate it a little bit is what it's called. I'm going to try to bring all the little colors to a real fine point. Kind of finish twisting this end up. Because we want a real nice, this will probably be the top end, what I would call the top end of the marble right here. So we want that to look as nice as we can. Can you guys see this little hair of a glass that I took off of that? That thing is probably, it looks bigger, but it's probably not much bigger than the hair on your head. So I've got this down to a little fine point, and hopefully all the colors have kind of all come up there even. So now we're going to start melting this thing in. We're going to try and make a marble out of it. Getting it started is kind of important too, to making the end look nice on the finished marble. So I'm going to take a little bit of extra time with that until that little point lays down. And then I'll turn the heat up a little bit and we'll start seeing if we can make a marble out of this. I'd say gravity is, it's hard to overcome during the process, but inevitably gravity is your best friend making a round ball of molten glass. So yeah, Greg, it does kind of look like ice cream. And I don't think you can see the colors as good as I can. I wish you could, but we're getting down. We're starting to make a little bit of progress here. We're gonna get this thing round, hopefully. Let's say I just want to get past this very end a little bit and make sure I keep it centered as possible. And then we'll turn the heat up and see if we can get it to moving a little quicker. I wish I could look away a little more to see the comments and things. But I've got to keep an eye on this to make sure I'm keeping it centered. Because that end if I stop turning or turn too fast or too slow, it can cause that end to drape. And then I'll never be able to get it centered back up. So but believe it or not, we are starting to make a round object here. So all right. Get a little more heat on it. This still isn't as hot as we can go, but it's about what I'm going to use for now. I'm wondering if I should try to go live doing this with my GoPro. I don't know if it could handle the heat though. Put it on my head where you guys could kind of see the angle that I see. So we may tinker with that a little bit one of these days and see if it works out better than just the phone. So I hate to stop and show you right this second, but right now the end is that was tapered is now at least the same size as the rest of this rod. So we're gaining now. We're on our way to making the marble. So and what'll happen too is those those switchbacks in the in the lines, they will compress down and be a little bit tighter the farther this melts down. So I'm holding the back end of the handle or the punny rod probably about, I don't know, well, it's just a little downhill, so it'll, once again, I'm using gravity, getting the glass molten, using gravity, and the glass will ball up on its own. It's just a matter of you keeping it centered while it's doing it. So, the old machine-made marbles, that kids used to play with, they were, you can look up YouTube videos of the old, or they're on YouTube anyway. The old machines they dump just to, well, maybe you've seen them on Clark's Cove detecting. They went out to, oh, I think like it's called the DAS run, DAS, Dave's Appalachian Swirls. You can see a marble making machine, and they're just dumping a stream of glass. They've got a set of automated shears there that cut the stream of glass, and it drops into these rollers that are spinning, and they're making hundreds, if not 1,000 marbles, every few seconds or minute or something. This is a little bit different deal. This is one at a time, and every one of them's going to turn out different, and it's just a different, same concept but different process. So what I do is called lamp working. I'm working in the direct flame with the glass. So this is called lamp work. Glass blowing is going to be more, it's soft glass, where they use the big metal rods and tubes, and they blow into the glass to shape it and things like that. That's glass blowing. This is lamp work. So, all right, I'm gonna try and pull this out of here, but I'm gonna have to try and keep it centered somewhat. But you can kind of see what shape this thing's taking now. We're well on our way to making a marble. Thank you, Mona. Thank you. I hope to show you a lot more. I mean, there's all different kinds of techniques and different types of marbles I can make. I like to make pendants, and so I need to get, into the figures and stuff more, but haven't done too much of that. So we're going to get down here to a certain point, and I'm going to hook my punny rod back on the other end, the round end now, and I will flame cut our marble off of this big punny that we're working with now to round out the other end to complete our marble. So this is, we're getting there. Before I do that, I'll let this cool off where you can hopefully see the colors and stuff again a little bit. Oh yeah, we're melting right on down. So far, so good. Gravity and heat, that's our friends. I'm not even going to use the mold on this yet. All right. I'll take this out. I'm going to let it cool some where I can watch it. Still make sure it's centered because this whole thing will droop over if I stop turning at this point. You guys can kind of see the WigWag though. Switch back, WigWag, reverse twist, whatever you want to call it. I wish I could turn my camera around, or actually, maybe, well, I don't know. Maybe I better not mess with it. All right. Let's see if I can remove the lens here. What's this light? Maybe kind of too much. Camera has a hard time focusing on that hot glass too. It won't focus. Well, maybe you can kind of get the idea. So we're going to hook onto this end now with our punny rod, or our handle, but I better get a little bit of heat back into this. Actually, I may run it in the mold just for a second to, just make sure it's true. So I'm going to get just the front end of this kind of heated back up. Lay it in the mold for just a second. The thing is, though, whenever you put these in the mold, it puts tooling marks on the surface. So then there's a little process of what's called flame polishing. You let the whole thing kind of cool down, and then you just put it in the flame, and it'll just let it melt just the outside surface. So I just want to make sure I'm good and around here before we unhook. So I think we're fine. So I'm just going to flame polish this a little bit, and then we'll get the punny rod on. And then we're going to work on cutting this off of this big handle. So I've got this light up here. It produces two lines on the surface of the glass that I can see. And I use that to check for imperfections in the surface of marble, because I do my best to, you know, make them as flawless as possible. I want to turn this down a little bit, keep my marble warm. I want to dress up the end of this so that I can use that for my next punny rod. And what you'll hear here, I've got a cup of water over here in a big heavy glass. You stick this in there and the cold water will break off what you don't want. So, all right, so we're going to get us punny rod, hopefully somewhat in the middle, just like so. And I'm going to start heating. I'm going to start heating this other end. We're going to cut this marble. We're going to cut it off of this big handle. So I'm heating down at that back end. I need to get a little bit more fire turned back up. All right. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, yeah. Yep, I am smoking hot. Uh, not looks either. I'm talking roasting like a hot dog out here. So luckily it's been somewhat cool and rainy here in Missouri today, so it makes for good weather to do this. That's funny, Luke. Oh man. Yeah, so I'm thinking about an inch and a quarter on this marble probably when it's done. I mean, I won't know until it's done and it's cooled. You guys can't see it. I've got a kiln over here on the other side of the table. And once this marble's done, I will put this thing in the kiln, and this marble will set all night long in that kiln until the kiln cools off. And so I won't be able to, once it goes in the kiln, I won't be doing anything with it till in the morning. So the kiln sets at about 1,000 degrees. There's another little termination line. So here's what we got now after I cut it off. So now we've kind of got the same deal. I've got to carefully melt this pointed end in and try to keep it as centered as possible. And that will be our other side of our marble whenever everything's said and done. Once again, not a super fast process. I appreciate you hanging with me, and I apologize that it's kind of like watching grass grow or paint dry or fun things like that. All right, I'm gonna get both hands on this for a second. I can control it better. I wish you guys had a better angle on this so you could see. Uh, Here's kind of where we're at. We're getting closer. Probably need to find some kind of music to be able to play too. Might help break some of the boredom. Turn just a little more heat up, or a little more oxygen, get a little more heat in it. We're really starting to get there though. I appreciate everybody that has been able to hang out or been able to stand to hang out or whatever. We're getting there. Come on, lay down. Yeah, I'm talking to the marble. Sorry. We are getting closer. We're still not there. It's still not round. I gotta get it. I gotta get it round, so but we're making good progress. So Bear with me, I promise I'm not froze up. Boy, you can't see anything from my hands. Sorry. So I'm probably going to polish this, flame polish this, and probably turn it around again. Switch poles. Oh boy, I wish you could see those lines better, but this camera just doesn't do good with a hot glass. So that's kind of trippy, kind of there on the end, a long twist. So I'm going to flame polish this end. I'm going to knock the marble off in the mold and flip it over and hook back up on the opposite side to try and round this, because I've got just a little bit. I should have took just a little bit more glass off of the end that I cut. So I ended up with a little too much extra glass, but we should be able to still make it work here. It's going to take a little extra work to get round, so might drop it back in the mold again and I mean, there's no good way to. You just have to kind of eyeball and know how much glass to leave on that second end, and I missed it by a little bit, but that just overall it just means that the marble will be just a touch bigger, you know, once I do get it round. So. All right. Oh yeah, you guys are gonna love these little termination on this end of this thing if you can get to where you can see it. Man, that camera is not capturing that. I don't think where all the little points come together. Ah. All right. Anyway, I'll quit doing that. Let's knock this off. Flip the marble over. Let's refix my punny rod here. We're going to hook back onto the other side. See if we can round this thing. All right, so we have picked our marble back up. At this point, we hope we don't drop it. And we're going to start putting the heat back to the other end of it and see if we can get these two sides to match up and lay together a little better. And hopefully make a round marble out of this. But we're getting pretty close. I really think I ought to toy with putting my GoPro on though, and that way you guys can always see, in the direction that I'm looking, and might give you a better view of what's going on. Hey, Jesse Kreckenberg, how are you? Apologize if I get my hands in the way, but I can't move the camera or anything right now. Had I got, more of the correct amount of glass left on the second end, this rounding part would go a lot faster, but unfortunately I didn't, so you guys are stuck with the long version of this part, but ooh, and I just knocked it off. Yep, if it's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong while we're live. I just knocked my marble off, but it's in the mold, so it's okay. Gotta pick her back up. Just gotta pick her back up and go again. Losing it off of the punny is a lot better in the mold than on the workbench, I can tell you for sure. If I end up doing that, I may cry. You guys may get to see a grown man cry. Mom, I don't know if you're talking about the torch or whatever. Uh, I've actually got a torch that I started out on. It was like $115, $120. You don't have to have this torch to do what I'm doing. The bigger the torch, the easier it is to heat up this amount of glass. If you've got a smaller torch, it's probably better to work on smaller projects. So, I mean, there is a semi-affordable, you know, way or versions of some of these things. The kiln is, this is actually a jewelry kiln or something that I bought a digital control for. So I saved a little bit of money there, but really I still need to upgrade my kiln because it's not exactly what it should be, but I also make do with it. So yeah, it is kind of expensive, but if you can, there are ways that you can cut some costs. So if that's what you were talking about, I missed a lot of the wondering if your GoPro. Oh, yeah, I don't know. It might overheat. I kind of wonder about that, but there may only be one way to find out. So, I mean, I want to give you guys the best view you can have of this, is ultimately what I'd like to do. So, so what I've got is right in the high part of the marble, right in the middle. I've got just a little bit of wobbly wavering in the surface that I don't like. So I'm trying to superheat that center part to where it'll lay down, but I've also got to not heat it enough that I lose it off of my punny, because I have a very light connection right there on this marble with this punny rod. So it doesn't take much heat to turn the marble loose. So I've got to keep as much heat as I can off of that punny rod. But I've got to get as much heat as I can on the marble to make the surface lay down the way that I need it to. I'll concentrate the flame a little bit more, and that'll help me some. But I think we're really starting to get close here. Yeah, it's looking a lot better now. So we may be in the neighborhood of being done with this dude. Want to get a good flame polish here. So what will happen next, if I don't need to do anything else, what will happen next is where I break this punny rod off, there will be a little punny mark on the surface of the marble. So where I break this off. So what I'll do is I'll drop the marble, I'll knock the marble off into this mold. It's a handheld mold, I'll knock it off in there. And then I'll put the end that I break off, hold it in the mold, I'll hold it up in the flame to melt away the punny mark. So that's the point we're at now. So I'm going to heat this mold up, this graphite mold. I'm going to heat it up. That will help my marble not get too cold while I'm doing the last step here of getting the punny mark off of the marble, which I probably need to give you guys I'm going to turn the camera down away from that light. Take that off and let you guys see more what the finished marble is going to look like. The color will still be better tomorrow whenever it's fully cooled off. It still looks kind of washed out there, but I promise it'll look better tomorrow. So, but anyway, I better watch out. I'm going to have it out of the flame too long. Heck, you guys might be able to see better at that angle of the camera than I didn't realize, I guess, that I had it staring up at that light, but all right. One more little look here, and then she's going in the mold. Mona, it is pink and purple and white. The pink and the purple look a lot the same whenever it's hot. I mean, they're kind of pastel colors, so. Alright, so I've got that heated up. I'm going to put this marble down in this mold, and I'm going to take my knife here and I'm going to tap this punny rod, just like that. And now the marble's in the mold. And we're going to kind of keep it warm here. I don't think I can turn you guys, but I'm going to get a little work here to do on this bottom end. Boy, you know what, guys? I think I'm going to have to pick this thing back up. This end's got some mold marks in it. Alright. Alright, we're gonna have to hook back up here for a second and heat that other end up. Didn't realize it was still, had some mold, some marks in it, so we've got to do just a little bit more work. Alright, so we're gonna pick it up and we're gonna heat this other end back up. Get it in better shape. Then we'll take care of our penny mark. And I've left the lens off so you guys can't see in the flame. There you go. Let's say I'm kind of a, don't mean to be a pain, but I just don't want a uneven surface on this thing after everything I put in it. So I try, I mean, there could still be a slight waver, but I do everything I can to make the surfaces, as perfect as I can, humanly possible. So, all right. So we're going to let this cool again a little bit. And I'm going to knock this penny off again, and we're going to try and clean this thing up for the last time and put it to bed for the night. So, yeah, it's looking pretty good on the surface. So, all right, here we go. We're going to knock this up into the mold. Just like that. Turn this down. Of course, it knocked out a pretty good divot when I broke the penny off that time, which kind of stinks. So I've got to get rid of that penny mark. Looking pretty decent, I think. All right. I want to get this thing out of here. We're going to call it done. We'll get our tongs here, pick him up out of the mold, just like so. Crack the kiln open over here. set him in there. Turn that off. Whew. Yeah, Luke, still here. Yeah, you are still here. Yeah, I'm a little warm. But anyway, I hope that wasn't too painful to watch. I don't know, I did. Let me turn you around here. Here's my, see, there's my digital part that I added to my little, just a little small Paragon jewelry kiln that I got at an auction. Actually, let me see if I can, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to see if this camera turns around. Haha. There, that'll make it easier. You won't have to look at my mug. Ouch. That baby's warm. So there's a couple of pendants in there too. And then the marble that we just put in there. So anyway, I don't know. You guys can kind of see my mess here. With this camera, there's some of my colors and it looks like a big mess. I showed this. If you guys want to go back the other live that I done, that is actually a little spot of gold, a little spot of silver. If you want to go look at the other live, the first one I done, I used this gold and I made a flower marble with the gold fuming. So anyway, if you want to check that out and see a different marble get made, I'm going to try and do this every once in a while. I've got some cool cane here. A friend of mine makes this cane, and I can implement that. You know, I can implement those into marbles and things. I mean, there's just lots of different. All of this glass back here, this yellow looking glass, that's all UV reactive stuff that glows under a black light. So that's kind of cool stuff. I like the UV stuff. So anyway, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. And I guess I'm going to get out of here, maybe go in and take me a shower and hit the sack. I'll try and do either a live in the morning or maybe a little video. Maybe I'll just make a video and post it. We'll come out and pull the marble out of the kiln together, and you guys can see it. And like I say, I'll be trying to work on or figure out a way to do the auction thing. However that ends up being, if anybody's interested, we can try that and see if we can get some of this glass in you guys' hand, and if you would so choose to do so. Y'all have a good rest of your night, and thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging with me, and I will see you next time.